You asked the question. The president did not directly condemn the attacks. You saw what he said this morning at the museum there in Washington. Was the condemnation strong enough?
Well, Brooke, the president's absolutely right. Anti-Semitism is not a simple thing, as he had said. And we have these attacks and these threats of violence, but on the same hand, we have the ability to talk about this in a fair and open forum, which is such a blessing that the Jewish people didn't have in other countries before coming to the United States.
You know, one of the questions is, why now? Why not, condemn when he was with you or with the Israeli prime minister sometime after? And Kate, one interesting piece of this today is the tweet from Hillary Clinton. Of all issues that she could have directly tweeted toward the president, she picked this one. And this is what she said. JCC threats, cemetery desecration, and online attacks are so troubling and they need to be stopped. Everyone must speak out, starting with the President of the United States. What role do you think she played here, and why this issue?
Brooke, it's unclear. This is the first time she's actually called him out by name. She did make that 3-0 tweet a few weeks ago after the immigration ban was not passed by the judges. That was but she didn't say POTUS. Today she said POTUS. Right. And it could be on the heels of Chelsea Clinton has been calling out President Trump on Twitter about this last night, earlier yesterday. She could just be finding her voice. Obviously, this is something that really resonates with Hillary Clinton and the rest of the country. And she felt strongly enough that this was the time that she decided to really take to her social media and try his route and call him out.
Jake, when you look at the numbers, this is 48 centers in 26 states in one Canadian province, all received just shy of 60 bomb threats just last month alone. Why do you think this is happening right now?
Well, part of what's so troubling is that we don't really know. We don't know why it's happening, and we don't even know if and how it's being investigated. And if I would have been fortuitous enough to have an extra 6 seconds to complete my question, it essentially would have been, Mr. President, what do you feel is within the rights of the I don't have my notes in front of me right now, but basically it would have been, what do you think it is the duty of the executive branch of the federal government to do about this, not specifically or personally against him, but as a generalization? What does he feel the government can and perhaps should do to address it? And we don't know what's being done yet. Obviously, the president's strong statement today was a very, very good step in the right direction.
But again, just going back to hearing from Sean Spicer saying, hey, you know what, stop asking this. He's answered it. Even back to election night when the president, the newly elected president, stood up there and said, yes, it's a country divided, but I will unify. What more do you want to hear?
I think that if concrete, look, this president's a man of action. He's always been a man of action his entire career. And he doesn't need me to say this. And so it seems like he's thinking, hey, let's actually do things to counter this, and let's not look for just cheap sound bites that a typical politician would have given under the circumstances. So it could be that's why the president didn't give that much credence to having to just go out there and release a statement. But it is very helpful that he did.
We know that his daughter Ivanka converted to Judaism and marrying Jared Kushner, Kate, and she tweeted about this. She was on this on Twitter before, her dad, and a member of Congress even said, well, that's great, thank you so much for condemning, but we need to be hearing from your father. Do you know it all behind the scenes? Had she talked to her father? Was she in his ear before this morning?
Well, I think we all know that Ivanka Trump is very close to her dad, and he listens to her. And she helps soften him up a bit, especially on these very human issues. So I wouldn't be surprised if they spoke. I'm not surprised that Ivanka decided to tweet on her own to her millions of followers in support. She is, like you said, she's a practicing Orthodox Jew. She's raising her children, her husband, and President Trump has pointed to Ivanka before as I'm not anti-Semitic, my daughter, my grandchildren, etc., are Jewish. So I'm not super surprised. And at her urging and maybe at her tweeting, he might have taken the lead there. She was also with him this morning as he toured the Smithsonian African American Museum here in Washington. She's a comforting presence to him. She's obviously not afraid of speaking her mind and putting her kids on Instagram and sort of making him Grandpa Trump and softening the edges. So I wouldn't be surprised if she did have some influence today.
Kate, as always, thank you. Jake, a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks, Brooke.
Thank you. Now for